Welcome back. We got another episode of Let 'em Ride for you. We're going to be going over the 4-game WNBA slate for Sunday, July 14th. We're going to break down and analyze each of those games, and we'll talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points and the spread. And then any plays that I put in for these games, I will list down below in that pinned comment. So make sure you check back in. That way you don't miss out on any of those. And then let's recap our picks from Saturday. We did take the Sky in the first half on the money line. That was a plus 145 play. We put half a unit on that. They did hold a 34-29 lead with just under 5 minutes to go in the second quarter before giving up a 14-0 run to New York. They ultimately lose that first half 43-34, so we do not cash there. But we also put a half a unit in that same game on Angel Reese, over 12.5 rebounds, and we also had a profit boost that we threw on that to make that a plus 106 play. Now this does cash for us because Angel Reese is a dog on those boards, guys. She had 16 rebounds in the game. So we basically break even on the night. We go up, 3/100ths of a unit on the night. We're going to call it breaking even. We split 1-1. We are up 7.66 units now on the year. We are 33-25 overall. So let's dive into these picks today. Let's keep the good energy going, guys. We've had a good week. Let's finish it off strong. In our first game, we had the Phoenix Mercury taking on the Connecticut Sun. The Sun are laying 8.5. We have an over-under sitting at 155.5. The Mercury, they find themselves here before the Olympic break on a 6-game stretch. The sees them play on the road in 5 of those 6 games. Their last 4 wins have come in the form of 2 wins each over the Sparks and the Wings, with losses to the Lynx, Sun, and then the Fever twice in that span. The Mercury are 12-11 straight up. They are 14-9 to the number, but only 4-7 on the road, 6-5 against the spread. The Sun are home for the 3rd straight game, and they have the rest advantage here. They have won 4 of their last 6. They lost a close game to the league best New York Liberty in their last game. They battled back in that one after trailing by as many as 14. They took the lead with a little over 2 to play, but just ultimately couldn't complete that comeback, falling by 3, 71-68. Now, as far as the injury report is concerned, man, Phoenix has a mile-long injury report heading into this one. Natasha Cloud and Brittany Griner are questionable, with Diana Taurasi, Charisma Osborne, and Shug Sutton all out. Tiffany Mitchell is questionable on the Connecticut Sun side of things as well. So as far as the matchup for these teams, the Sun have won both meetings this year between these two. Once at home in late May, this was before the returns of BG and Becca Allen. The Sun pummeled the Mercury in this game, 70-47. And then they beat them again in early June in Phoenix by 11. The Sun, they attempt the second fewest threes in the league, but they are hitting the 4th most from the mid-range and the 3rd most from the restricted area. The Mercury are giving up the 2nd fewest shots from the mid-range, but they allow the highest shooting percentage from that restricted area. Phoenix ranks middle of the pack at 6th in turnovers and 7th in opponents' points scored off of turnovers, while the Sun are forcing the 3rd most turnovers, and they are scoring the 2nd most points off of them. Connecticut is pulling down the 4th most offensive rebounds. They're turning those into the 2nd most second chance points, while the Mercury are giving up the 2nd most offensive boards and the 3rd most second chance points. So all in all, even without the injuries in mind, I'd probably still be leaning Connecticut at home here. But the fact that the Mercury could have as little as 6 players available for this in a game against a healthy Sun team who sits 2nd in the standings with the defense that they have, I can't look any other way but Connecticut in this one. For the total, we know the Sun are going to slow this thing all the way down. And while the Mercury typically play at the 4th fastest pace, that won't matter too much against Connecticut, especially with the injuries they have here. The Sun are holding teams to a league low 72 points per game. They have hit in the under in 4 straight games, 8 of their last 10. So I'd see Connecticut controlling the pace and keeping this one below that 155.5 line. And then as far as a player prop, guys, I love Kalia Copper, all right? She is a dog, right? We can get her right now on the points at 20.5. Again, I saw this on Bet365. It's a little juiced at 130, but I really like this one. She is a straight dog, like I said. If you haven't seen her play yet, you're truly missing out. Next time the Mercury are on national TV, or damn it, just pull it up on Stream East, guys. You need to watch her play if you have not. I think she might be my favorite player in the league. But anyways, I'm rambling on here. All right. She's hit over this number, though, in 5 of her last 6 games. And her points have sat at 23, 24.5, her line for these last few games. So I'm not sure why it's dropped down here to 20.5. That's the only thing that's got me a little hesitant. But maybe because we're playing the Connecticut defense here. And they have an excellent perimeter defense, obviously. So this does make me a little hesitant as well. But with the injuries piling up for Phoenix, she can expect to see a ton of looks, I believe. She really does anyway. She's the Mercury's leading scorer. And like I said, just watch a game, dude. Watch how she plays. She is quick. She's fast. She's taking them off the dribble, and she's just got in for layups left and right. And she's got a nice little jumper on her, too. Man, this 20.5 points looks very tempting. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Washington Mystics. The Aces are 12-point favorites for this one, with the over-under sitting at 171.5. The Aces, they're on the third and final game of a 3-game road trip, and they've won 3 straight, 9 of their last 10. They beat the Dream on Friday by 14. They shot 41% from deep, and they held Atlanta to 2 of 19 from 3. It's only 11% shooting. The Mystics have the rest advantage. They will be at home for the first game after a 4-game road trip that saw them split going 2-2. They outlasted a furious comeback attempt from Indiana in their last game. They led by 21 after 3 in that one before being outscored by 16 in the fourth, but they ultimately did hang on for a 5-point win. Throughout this season, the Mystics have been injury-riddled. Brittany Sykes, Shakira Austin, and Carly Samuelson, they've all been out and they will remain out. The Aces, they come into this one currently with a clean injury report, but as we've learned throughout this WNBA season, before placing any wagers on this game or any game on this slate, be sure to check into the injury report, as we have seen some last-second additions. These two, they've met twice on the year, with Vegas winning the first one in Washington by 11, and then the second at home by 21. The Mystics were missing Stephanie Dawson in that loss in Vegas, in addition to the 3 that they are missing currently. And then in that first matchup between these two, Dawson did play, and she had a game. 5 of 6 from downtown, 23 points, led the Mystics in scoring. And Washington led by 8 after that first quarter, and they did cover ultimately in this game. In their last 10 games, Vegas is attempting and making the fewest shots from the restricted area, but at the second highest shooting percentage. They're making the most shots from the paint outside of the restricted area and at the highest shooting percentage. They're also shooting the highest percentage from the mid-range while hitting the third most threes at the second highest shooting percentage. Teams are shooting at the second highest percentage on Washington from inside that restricted area, and then the third highest from the mid-range, and they're giving up the 4th most threes per game. Washington in their last 10 are hitting the second most threes at the highest shooting percentage. Then over the year, they are hitting the above the break 3 at the second highest frequency and at the second highest shooting percentage. Washington's a damn good 3-point shooting team, guys. Vegas gives up the second most above the break 3s at the highest shooting percentage as well. Over their last 5 games, the Mystics, though, they are rated only 9th offensively, 10th defensively, with a negative 8.5 net rating. That's 3rd worst in the W. The Aces in that time, they're 2nd offensively, 3rd defensively with a 12.6 net rating, 2nd in the W. Washington, though, they have covered in 7 of their last 8. They are 3-0 to the number as double-digit home dogs this season. They're 7-3 at home against the spread. And then the Aces, they've covered in 4 of their last 6, but they are just 1-4 as double-digit away favorites this year. So I'm going to lean Washington with the points here. And then for the total, the Aces continue to play at the fastest pace in the W, and they are averaging 92 points per game on the year. The Mystics have hit the over in 7 of their last 10 as well, so I'll lean over for this game. Next up, we have the Indiana Fever taking on the Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx, they're laying 4.5 in this one with the over-under sitting at 163.5. Minnesota has been without the services of Naphisha Collier for the last 3 games. They've gone 2-1 in that time, but they've been in an offensive tailslide that, truth be told, it started well before Fee went down. Minnesota has scored more than 75 points only once in the last 6 games. They are 3-3 in that time, but only 2-4 to the number. Minnesota was blown out 91-63 by Seattle on Friday, and they're back home now for the first of 2 straight before the break. The Fever are on the road for the first of 2 straight before the break after a 3-game homestand that saw them go 2-1, most recently beating the Mercury by 9 on Friday. The Fever are going to be without Tammy Fogg-Bentley again in this one as she's nursing that thumb injury. They're 10-14 on the year. They're only 4-9 straight up and 6-7 to the number on the road. This is going to be the first meeting of the year between these two. The matchup-wise, guys, look, the Lynx, they've just struggled tremendously on the offensive end lately, and they've relied heavily on strong defense to keep them in games as of late. Really, since this Commissioner's Cup victory that they had, this offense has just been flailing. They've scored 74 or less in 5 of their last 7. Against Seattle on Friday, the Lynx shot only 23% from 3 and only 31% overall from the field. they can only manage 26 points in the second half as a whole, only 9 points in the fourth quarter. So just a miserable display from them on the offensive end. And then in their last 5, Minnesota, they ranked second to last offensively, and they've dipped on the defensive end as well, ranking 5th now. The Fever, on the other hand, they continue to improve as the year rolls on. Caitlin Clark has now had a double-double in 5 straight. She's hit double figures in her assist total in 6 of her last 7. She's averaging 18, 7, and 10 in her last 10 games. Her court vision and then the inside-out game between Leah Boston, sorry, I get my names mixed up here, Nalissa Smith, and then Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. That inside-out game between those 4, it's just turned this into one of the most dangerous offenses in the league over the course of the season as they've had more time to gel together. On the Minnesota side of things, man, despite their struggles offensively, the Lynx are still hitting the second most above the break threes in their last 5 games. They've just become very reliant on the perimeter. So they're making the least amount of shots in the paint outside the restricted area and the second fewest inside of the restricted area. The Fever are giving up the 3rd most above the break threes and the 3rd most points off of turnovers while coughing up the ball at the 2nd highest rate over their last 5 games. This plays into Minnesota's hands as the Lynx force the 4th most turnovers in the W and they score the most points off of those turnovers. The Fever have been on a lose, then win, then lose, then win pattern for 6 straight games now, and they did win in their last outing, so they're in line for a loss, right? Look, I don't know how much stock I'll put into that, but the Fever have struggled on the road. They're only 4-9 straight up, 6-7 to the number, like we mentioned earlier. The Lynx, despite being down fee, have been an excellent home team, going 10-2 straight up, 7-5 to the number. So I'm going to lean Minnesota here, but I'm not sold, honestly. And if you were on the Indiana side of things, I'm not going to try to talk you down. I'm not going to try to talk you in either way on this game, honestly. But I could definitely see a path for Indiana to cover, if not win this one outright. So slight Minnesota lean, but nothing I feel too crazy about. For the total, Indiana has hit over this number in 8 of their last 10. The number is this low on the account of the troubles of the Minnesota offense. But if there was ever a time for us to see some points from the Lynx and see somewhat of a bounce back on the offensive side of things, wouldn't it be at home against one of the worst defenses in the league? The Fever are giving up 87 points per game. The Lynx are shooting a league best 40% from deep at home. So I'm going to lean over for this one here. And for our final game on the slate, we have the Atlanta Dream taking on the Seattle Storm. The Storm, they're laying 13.5. The over-under is sitting at 155.5. The Dream, they're on the road here for the first of 2 straight. And they're in a stretch that sees them play 5 of 6 on the road. They've now lost 6 in a row and 9 of their last 10. The Storm, they're on the last game of a 9-game homestand. They've won 6 of the 8 games that they've played so far on that homestand. They're 15-8, both straight up and against the spread this year, and they've covered in 14 of their 15 wins. Now, guys, when they win by an average of 15 points per game, right? In those 15 wins, they are winning by an average of 15 points per game. That is really impressive. Ryan Howard, Aerial Powers, and Jordan Canada are all out, and Letitia Amir is listed as day-to-day for Atlanta as well, while the Storm look to be coming into this one with a clean slate on the injury report. As always, be sure to check into that before placing any wagers on this one. This is going to be the first matchup of the season between these two, though. Seattle is 3rd across the board as far as offensive, defensive, and net rating, while the Dream are 7th defensively. They are last offensively, and their net rating sits them at 9th. Atlanta makes the most mid-range shots, and they score the highest percentage of their points from there in the W. But the Storm give up the fewest mid-range makes, and they hold opponents to only 30% shooting from there. That's first in the W. So this doesn't look good for Atlanta, as they are just a mess elsewhere on the offensive end. They're shooting a league worst 40% from the field, second to worst 30% from 3. They're averaging a league low 75 points per game. The Storm lead the W in steals and blocks. They're forcing opponents into the most turnovers per game, and then they're scoring the 3rd most points off of those turnovers. Seattle is allowing the 3rd lowest shooting percentage from deep, the 2nd lowest from the field overall, and then they're also grabbing the 2nd most rebounds, the 3rd most offensive rebounds, and then convert those into the 3rd most second chance points. So, all things considered, even with the larger line here, I like Seattle at home over this injury-riddled offensive disaster that we've come to know as the Atlanta Dream. And then for the total, I don't know how you look anyway but under here. Although Seattle can put up points with the best of them, They play at the second fastest pace behind Vegas. They've only hit the over in 3 of their last 10 games. They're giving up just 77 points per game, while Atlanta is giving up just 81. The Dream are a mess offensively, while the Storm have one of the best defenses in the W. Look, the Dream first half team total under 35.5 might be a good look as well. Seattle tends to punch teams early in the mouth, especially at home. So that's just about going to wrap it up here for another episode of Let It Ride. But before we get out of here, let's talk about what we are looking at for these games, which way we are leaning. I'm looking at the Sun laying the 8.5. And in that same game, I'm looking at Kalia Copper over 20.5 points. And I got my eye on the Mystics plus the 12 and the Fever versus Lynx full game over 163. Then I'm looking at the Storm laying the 13.5 and the Dream first half team total under 35.5. All these plays, guys, they are just leans currently. I've not made anything official. But if I do and when I do, if I find anything else that I like before tip-off, I'm going to have all of that down there in the pinned comment. So make sure that you come back so you can see if you'd like to ride along with me on these picks, or maybe you come back and you're like, nah, bro, all those picks are trash. And maybe you decide that you want to do the opposite. So, hey, guys, whatever you decide to do, though, make sure you throw them down into the comments. I love to talk to you guys about what you've cooked up. And hey, I love nothing more than to celebrate with you guys when you were down there in them comments cash. And that's the best, man, for real. So hey, that's going to wrap it up here. If you guys liked the video today, if you found it helpful or useful in any kind of way, please do not forget to smash that like button down there. It is so helpful to helping the channel grow more and more each day. And hey, if you have not hit subscribe already, please do. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we are dropping. And if you can hit share, it's definitely appreciated, guys. And then just a quick reminder that these full breakdown and analysis videos for the WNBA that you have been finding on the Let 'Em Ride channel will be moving to the Guy Boston Sports channel starting Tuesday, July 16th. We will still be having content over here as well, so make sure that you are subscribed to both channels. That way you don't miss out on anything. And if you have not got over to Guy Boston Sports channel already, for one, you are sleeping. You need to wake up and get over there. They have MLB, NFL, NBA content, and now your boy's going to be over there dropping some WNBA as well. So definitely make sure you're over there. Hit that subscribe button. Definitely make sure that you stay here. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Great content on both channels, guys. We're not stopping. It's going to keep coming to you every single day. So with that said, I hope you guys have a great night. Let's make a bag tonight. Bet responsibly. I will see you guys on the next video.